What's up, fellas? What's going on? It's raining, misting, as the weatherman would say. It's drizzling rain. But nonetheless, I'd much rather be out trapping or doing something for trapping than what I'm doing right now, which is driving to clinic. So that being said, there was a few things that I was kind of thinking to just touch base on, and that was the favorite kind of terrains or fields that I like to set up, and I guess give you some reasons why, and dive into it a little bit, go over some past experiences and some of the things that I've noticed over the years. But it's not set in stone. It's just stuff that I've witnessed and that I've went through. So if you're interested, stick around. We'll kind of go over that. To kick things off, though, the fields or the terrains that I come in contact with here in Ohio, they are as follows. I run into a lot of cornfields, a lot of bean fields, soybean fields, pasture field, whether that's old pasture field, hay fields, cattle, and then you have CRP. And that's just to name a few. You can also you could lump in like some old clear cuts, things like that, with big access logging roads going through it. Now, I love setting all of them up. I mean, I love if the sign's there and it's a good spot, a good location. I like setting them all up. But I have the ones that I tend to favor a little bit more, or I've noticed with the crop rotations, sometimes things change, and maybe that's just me overanalyzing, but I try not to get analysis paralysis, like where I analyze that, say maybe the cornfields aren't producing like they were whenever it was in beans. I don't go in and not set it up. I know it's a good spot. I know there's a good access. I know it's a good drainage ditch. I'm still setting it up, and I don't really set on the edges, like right up next to timber or things of that nature. I set off the edge, more so in the field per se, or where the gravity wagon or the grain bin went through and mashed down a nice pathway. So to segue back into the original topic, my favorite probably going to be bean fields that are on good location, not just any random bean field that you find. But I like setting bean fields. I like the bean duff. I have noticed that it doesn't stand as tall. I can get a big flashy blown up dirt hole, nice eye appeal. You can do that in cornfields, or cut cornfields, but I just haven't had near the success that I've had over the years transitioning from beans to corn, but vice versa, corns to beans. I always seem to have a little bit better success, and that's just my experience. Now, I do love pasture fields. I do like to set pasture field, especially when there's cattle around. I don't necessarily enjoy setting when there's cattle in there, but there are techniques and things that you can do to maximize your return when you're setting in those. Then you can't forget CRP. CRP ground's great to set in. It's that nice, especially if it's well managed, nice tall, a lot of small games in there that the predators can feed on or hunt for. harvest. And I would probably have to put CRP up there with beans, pasture, and then and CRP. I'd have to put all those up kind of towards the top, and then I'm going to have to start saying that the corn fields and even some of your old timber roads or logging roads, even so, if it's a clear cut. I've had good success in a lot of those places, but it just seems like for my area where I'm at, that's the latter. It's not as good as what I as previously mentioned. And that is just strictly from my area. That is, here in the Appalachians of Ohio, and then going up into the flatter parts of central Ohio. So it could be totally different for all different types of folk out there. It could be, hey, you like setting on cornfields better than you do bean, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm just telling you from my experience that I've had more luck with those three: the CRP, the pasture fields, the bean fields. So it's just something maybe for you to think about. It's something to, if you've never maybe paid attention, or if you've noticed, like, why am I not catching here? I used to catch here last year. It could be that you're just having either an off year, or maybe setting up corn is different than setting up bean fields. That's all. Most of this discussion is speculation on my part, because you can have guys say, well, you went in that first year and you creamed 10 canine off that property and the surrounding properties, and you go back next year and you're not going to have as many. Well, that could be true, but usually I'm taking young of the year. I'm only in there for a few weeks, a very limited time. I'm only taking, the ones, I'm just in there quick, take as many as I can take, and then I'm out. So I don't really stick around and, say, put a bracelet on that female or that dominant male. Now, I have, and that's great. But when it's the correlation of, oh, well, you creamed them all one year and you come back, I don't really necessarily think that's true. I think, taking out young of the year pups, they're typically not going to be ready for breeding at a super young age. It's more so like your 3 to 4 year olds, and they're going to have a little bit better birthing rate, and especially with survival. So take that into consideration also when you're thinking about some of these things. And that's really all the main thing I want to do is get people to just think and maybe analyze their trap line and look at it from a different manner or a different light. But like I said, don't get analysis paralysis. Don't sit there and overanalyze something so much that you can't make a decision, or that you can't go with your gut and put out traps, good sets, make catches, get on down the road, and keep moving and keep progressing. So that's really what this kind of whole, oh, hey, what's your favorite place to set? Well, if I had my druthers, I would much rather set on or set near livestock that has a compost pile. But I don't have a lot of those. I have maybe a handful. So you got to figure out ways that you can more or less infiltrate those coyotes, find out where they're at, get in there, do your business, and move on. comes to weather, if I'm getting a lot of rain, it depends. Your soil type's going to be very variable and dependent on this, but more so, some of the crop fields will not drain as well as some of the others, and that's just basic, a simple fact and knowledge. Now with the CREP ground or the CRP ground, pasture field, I've noticed that I can get away with a lot more rain or precipitation, downfall. So sometimes there's little tricks or techniques that I've done. I don't want to say they're tricks. They're things that I've done that I've picked up from people that I use, and they help to keep putting fur in my traps and ultimately in my fur barn. And those tricks are, if I'm setting, say, in a crop field, and I know from years past that typically it doesn't drain well. So what am I going to do? I like I said, I like to have a big flashy, like a big flashy style type trench set dirt hole. I like for the big eye appeal. So one thing I'll do is I will make flat sets, but then I will also make just a mock trench set, and just make it blown up big, so you could see it from a ways off. And I won't even put a set there, especially if I know bad weather's coming. But it's twofold really, and it could even be three, but the two that I'm going to hit on, it gives you the eye appeal still and you have those other flat sets working there for you. And say you catch in those, weather gets better, then the second fold is you already have that trench style set pre-dug, ready to rock and roll. You can slap a trap in there and you get down the road, instead of having to get your digging equipment out, dig it out, dig the hole out. Everything's already there, ready to rock and roll. So that's something that I've done and that I will continue to do, and it's been great, really. Now there are different kind of things that you can do to manipulate that to work in your favor, and that's playing the wind. So I've noticed that with doing that big flashy mock dirt hole, you can get a little bit better, I want to say, outcome when you set that on if you're setting it downwind or upwind. So that'll be something that I keep a hold of, that I'll present to the guys in the master class. But with all things being said, you can definitely do some things that are going to 2, 3x, maybe 5x your catch percentage or your catch ratio. And that's also one reason I set away from the fields, the field edges, especially if it's close to timber, because I'm not trying to entice any off game or possums, raccoon, to come get into my canine sets. Does it still happen? Yeah, obviously it still happens. I'm not saying I'm batting 1,000 or perfect or 100%, but I will say that I have very, very little non-target catches, especially when I set away from, and I'm talking like maybe 15, 20 feet. So maybe 30 feet. And I also don't set right in corners of fields. I'd set in that area, but I don't set right on the corner, right at the 90-degree junction, I guess. I set out into the field, kind of at a, if you could imagine running a, like when you were in grade school or something, and you were in gym and you're running around the gym, and it's that perfect rectangle. Well, everyone cut the corner, and that's from my understanding and from what I've seen. You know, a lot of times the canines are going to cut the corners, and it's kind of, from my perspective, there's a degree. It's in the wheelhouse, I guess. I don't want to say it's set in stone because I'll have people bash me and call me a dumbass. But it's just from my experience and then from what I was taught and what I've seen throughout the years. But there is a certain degree, and like I said, I'll keep that and, you know, let the guys that are in the master class have that and discuss that and kind of see what their opinion is. Now, I'm not going to be too long-winded on it, but that's just some of the things that I've seen, some of the things I've noticed, and just wanted to give a quick little talk while I'm in the old Honda driving down to the clinic. So you guys have a terrific day, and until next time.